Hello everybody. Back in the shop working on some 15-inch rims today. I've got to get these painted. Well, I got to get them primed then painted, and wheels mounted to some NDTs, 715 NDTs. And I've got just a couple days to do this. A friend of mine is in town and he dropped off 5 wheels, some rubber, and I'm demounting them now, and then I'll show you the painting process. These are going on a very early CJ5 fire Jeep. Jeep is in remarkable condition. I don't have it here, but I'm going to paint these rims red for him and then get some tires mounted. I'm over at the tire machine with the last wheel and tire combination, and I'll show you the demount procedure, and then we'll get these scuffed up, wiped down with some wax and grease remover, and then get them set up. And I'm going to shoot some red oxide sealer on these, and I'll show you the process along the way. Okay, there's a couple of the tires. There's our Coates balancing machine. Pulling the tubes out. Everything is in very good condition. I don't think these were really on the road at all, but they were mounted to those rims. And here's the tire machine. And I'll get set up and show you the procedure. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is break the bead. And it seems like tire work is simple stuff, but I haven't been to a tire shop since I was a teenager because I'm so disgusted with how the guys operate at those tire shops. So very early on I bought a tire machine and balancer so I could do my own stuff, and it seems fairly simple, but there's always a guy in there, and just tearing tires up and wrecking tubes and screwing up rims and this and that and the other thing, and it's just a pain. So I do everything myself now. And we're going to break the bead on this first. Okay, I've got the wheel there, clamped in the clamps, and we'll start to take the first section apart. And what you want to do on this first section, when you're hooking your tire iron under there, is you don't want to hook the tube, because that will it'll just tear the tube up. So it just takes a second. Be careful. Push the tube down, grab the tire, bring it right up, and you won't have any trouble with your tube. Okay, now I generally push the stem out of there so we don't screw that up. And a lot of times that tube is stuck to the rim if it's been in there for any amount of time. So I go opposite where the stem was and just grab the tube. Obviously the air is out of the tube. And then we'll just start working it out of there. And there's a right and a wrong way to put the tubes in, and when I mount the tires again I'll show you. It's amazing how many tires I take apart and the tube is all twisted up in there. But I'll show you that when I mount them. Now we'll go for that second side. And there we remove the tire without any damage to the tube, the tire, or the rim. Seems like it's simple, but so many guys screw that up at the professional shops. You know, that's why I have the machines right here in the shop. Okay, so I'll prep these rims up and be right back with you. Okay, here are all the rims demounted here. And I gave them a quick solvent wash with some wax and grease remover. If there's any junk or any tire mounting residue or anything from the rubber on there, you don't want to smear it around when you're sanding. So I've had very good luck with the Southern Polyurethanes product line. That's their 710 wax and grease remover. It's wonderful. And I'm going to sand these with some, just lightly, you know, I'm just going to scuff them up so our sealer will bite in there. So I'm just going to run over them with some 220 grit, very lightly, just put some tooth in there. And then that should be fine for, I'm going to thin down the epoxy primer, probably about maybe 30%, make it into a sealer. It'll bite right in there real good. We'll let that dry for 2 hours, and then we'll continue on with the red. So right now I just got a whole bunch of scuffing to do, and normally when you're sanding body panels and stuff like that, you should always have a sanding block or some kind of sanding board or something, but on rims it's a little tricky. So I'm going to set the camera up and just give you a quick rundown how I do it. Okay, when you're sanding a panel, not so much on a wheel, but when you're sanding a body panel, and you got some sandpaper and you got your fingers on it and stuff, you're going to transmit all those lines of your fingers into the primer when you're sanding it. That's why it's always important to use a block. Now on a rim, it's kind of tricky. You're just gonna get in there. You got a lot of curved surfaces. You're gonna use one finger in areas like that and stuff. But one thing I wanted to show you was to make your sandpaper last. I don't have any camera help today, so hope you can see this. That's a sheet of 220 grit, wet dry. I'm gonna sand them dry. You don't just fold it and fold it over again, because then you got grit on grit. So just make a, you know, it's got 4 creases in it. Tear one crease like that. Fold that over so you got paper on paper. You're not going to wear anything. And you got grit on paper. And you're not going to wear that part out. And then on this grit, you got paper again. So all your grit is safe. And then you use this side, you use this side, you can open it up again, tuck the used side in, and go like that. Doesn't seem like much, but you know, back in the day when I had 2 or 3 guys working for me, we had multiple projects going, you know, I'd watch guys just use a piece of sandpaper for 2 minutes, throw it out, grab another one, you know, before you know it, you know, you're going through boxes and boxes of sandpaper. And it's tricky having some guys, you know, but we got a lot of work out, and you know, a lot of good projects we finished. But you know, if you're doing this for yourself, you're trying to save a few dollars, because you know good sandpaper is expensive. You want it to last a long time, and if you have grit on grit before you even start sanding, most of your grit's worn off of there. So that's just how I do it. You know, you might like it, you might not, whatever. But and then just get in there, and basically in any paint job, you're gonna get out of it what you put into it. So there's a lot of boogers in here and all kinds of stuff raised up, and we're gonna smooth this out, get a real nice surface. And like I say, a few minutes now pays off in the finished project. So no science to this, just scuff it up, and I will meet you back in the paint room, and we will squirt some sealer on there. Okay, this is 1 coat of Epoxy Sealer. It's a red oxide color, and that'll be a nice base for the red that we're going to paint these. And I mix this, it's a 1-to-1 ratio, 1 part of epoxy, 1 part of activator, and then I put in about 40% reducer. And summertime I use the slowest reducer I can. That's always a good idea to use the slow or very slow reducer. And these dry very fast when you reduce the epoxy, so I'm going to give this 2 hours of dry time, let all the solvents flash off, and after 2 hours we're going to begin the red. And that's a urethane, and it's a 4:1:1 mix, and I'll show you how I mix that, and we'll get to spraying these and turning them into beautiful red wheels. And I want to give it at least 24 hours to dry before I mount the tires, and everything's getting picked up on Saturday morning, so I got to get busy with this. So I'll see you guys back here in 2 hours, and we'll start laying down that red. Okay everybody, while we're waiting for that sealer to dry on the wheels, I'm going to try and get this 30-inch Fay and Egan antique planer out of the shop. I'm going to move that to another barn. I got some straps on. I'm going to get the gin pole truck over here and see if I can lift it. This is just taking up too much space in the shop. I've got it running. I've got all the feeds working now. It's not real pretty, but it works real good. So I'm going to get that set up in another barn so I can actually use it. And we'll try and get it lifted so I can get some steel runners under it so I could roll it on some pipes when I get it to the other barn. But well, let's see how this goes. I let her down. Okay, I finally got a hand here. My wife came out and she's helping me get this in the other building. She's working the winch, I'm working the camera, and maybe I can get my neighbor to come by and give us a hand and get that stuck in the other building. It's going in this barn here. Okay, we'll be back with you in just a little bit. Okay guys, we made the most of our 2-hour wait time. Got the snowblower Jeep out, moved the planer out, and got everything back inside. The snowblower Jeep's in here, moved the carts in and everything, and the planer is just out there waiting for tomorrow or so. I'll move it in. Mixing the red up now for those wheels. That's a 4:1:1 mix. So this is a urethane. So I'm going to mix up a quart here. So I'm going to go 4 parts of the red, and it's going to go up to that number 8. And I thought I had the hardener on the bench. Let me go grab some hardener. I'll be right back with you. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Had to run and get the hardener. 4 parts of red. And we're going to bring the hardener up to the second line. That's 1 part of hardener. And then I have a very slow reducer. Doesn't matter what the temperature is, you want to use the slowest reducer you can. Your paint's going to flow out real nice, and it's just much better to use the slowest reducer you possibly can get away with. So it's about 80 degrees right now, low humidity, and it's very slow, will flow out real nice. Okay, we're going to stir that up. I'm using a 1.4 nozzle on my spray gun. You can get away with a 1.3. I like to use a 1.4 for this urethane. And always put it through a strainer. Nothing should ever go in your gun unless it goes through a strainer. So I'm going to load up my gun, and I'll meet you over in the paint booth. Okay guys, I've got my spray gun here, 1.4 nozzle again, and I've got the pressure when the trigger is pulled to 24 pounds of air pressure. That's where I like to be on this. One day we'll go over fan patterns and things like that, but it's kind of tricky on wheels. Sometimes you're spraying a big fan, sometimes you close it up to get in there in little spots right in here. Sometimes I close up the fan a little bit and open it. Wheels are a little bit tricky, but I'm going to go over basic gun setup in another video. But for now, 1.4 nozzle, 24 psi, and I'm going to go at it. Okay guys, we got 2 wet coats on the inside of the wheels, and I get this edge right here as well. I leave this edge for when I flip them. I got these on some just some junk aluminum rod, and I like to flip them kind of while they're tacky, keep everything wet on wet. So I just grab it where I haven't painted it yet and give it a flip and set it right on those rods. Then I'll come here and I'll do 3 coats on the outside, and I'll show you the finished project when I'm done. Okay guys, that's how much paint I got left in the cup. I sprayed just about 1 quart of material. There's just a little bit left in there. Now the temperature is getting to be close to 90 degrees. It's laying down pretty good, but if the temperature starts to creep up on you, things start going sideways on you and everything's going to hell, which it's not yet. But it looks like at any point it can, because the temperature is really creeping up. Just leave what you got in the gun in there. Okay, now I'm going to add the slow reducer to that. I'm going to give myself a little more than half a cup. Now that's going to really thin what was left in the cup out. We're going to spray it. We're going to spray 1 medium coat over everything, and that reducer is just going to melt everything into 1 perfect coat of paint. I've got, like I said, I've got 2 wet coats on there. I'm going to give it about 15 minutes to set up, flash off, and then we're going to go and dust over everything with this heavy reduced mix, and that is just going to that's going to lay that paint down perfectly, even in 90-degree temperature. So I'll show you what that looks like when it's done. Okay everybody, it's the next day. I have the wheels out of the paint area, got them just sitting on the bench now, and I am selecting the 4 that I want to be on the Jeep and the 1 spare. And on this particular wheel, we have a lug hole that has been stretched out a little bit. Somebody probably didn't know, right and left hand threads, and was trying to get it off and was actually tightening it. So they smeared that a little bit. That is going to be the spare. Rest of the wheels look very good. I don't know if you could pick it up in the shop here, but that final coat of heavy reduced paint just flowed out perfectly. We weren't trying to get any of the pitting out of here. We weren't building this up with primer or anything. We're just trying to get a good smooth coat of paint on it, and they turned out very nice. I'm going to get some tires mounted on these, and I'll take them out in the sun, and hopefully you can see the color a little better. But they're completely painted. I always paint my wheels on the inside here, all around. It just keeps the rust down, the corrosion, stuff like that. Don't just paint the inside and the outside, because you still got this whole area here. Your tube's going to be up against that. You don't want corrosion in there wearing your tube prematurely. So I'm going to set up over at the tire machine, and we'll get some tires on here. Okay guys, we're over here at the tire machine, and this is a rim clamp machine. Those guys are going to come out and clamp the inside of the rim. I use this kind of paste. This is just universal mounting paste. I use this instead of that soap and water mix. It's just a paste. I keep a rag in here, and I just go around the tire and put a little lube on the tire to make it go on easier. Okay, we're going to get half the tire on so we can get the tube in there. Okay, now we're going to kind of fish the tube in there. And when you put your tube in, when you get your tube, it's going to be all folded up and stuff. Make sure the valve stem is pointing up. If you put this in like this, and you turned it around and tried to get that to come up, you're going to pinch the tube, and you'll have a leak in no time. Make sure you take the time to figure out where the valve stem is. You make sure that's pointing up. Now there's no magic here, you just got to kind of fish it in there. I like to get the valves in there first. You just got to kind of fish it in there. Be careful not to pinch it too bad. Okay, I'll pull the valve stem through and be right back with you. Okay, we're just losing the valve stem. Hang in there a second. Okay, I'm just going to hold on to that valve stem with a valve stem tool. And we'll go nice and easy. Make sure we're not pinching the tube. And we just flop this tire on. Okay, when I'm mounting tires, I like to pick a spot on the tires. This says military right here. I'll put the valve stem right in the center of the military. I don't know, it's just something that I always did. I like to keep the tires in the same spot. It just kind of makes it look like you cared when you were putting them on. And you could easily tell if a tire has spun on the rim if you have them all in the same spot. It's just something I do. It's not critical. I got the valve stem out now. We're just going to start inflating that tube and get the tire puffed up a little bit. Okay, I've just got a little tire valve there. I'm just going to stick that in now. And we'll get these filled up the rest of the way. Probably run these around maybe 28 psi. It's pretty good for these NDTs. Okay, there is one tire mounted. We'll just wipe off some of that paste, and it's ready to go. I'm going to take it outside, try and find some sunlight, and try and give you a better shot of that paint, what it looks like. Okay guys, as soon as I came out, all clouds came over, but there is the wheel and tire in the little bit of sunlight that's out here right now, and I think came out real nice. I'm going to get the other ones mounted, and I'll give you a shot of everything. Okay guys, we finally got the planer in here. It wasn't too much trouble. Backed the gin pole truck up to it and winched it in with the CJ6 tow truck. And I left about 22 feet on the in-feed side so that I can get long boards in, and then I'll set up some roller out feeds on the other side. And this is just one machine coming in here. If you look over to the right, you can see this building is a complete disaster. So I'm working from this end of the building to the other side. I've got sawmill parts in here. I've got garage doors in here, old motors, wheels, you name it, it's in here. But little by little, we're going to clean it out just like this side. And the molder is coming in next. I'll get that molding machine in here and I'll show you that as it comes. And I'm just going to show you those wheels one last time in the sunlight, and we'll call it quits on this video after that. Okay guys, here's the finished wheels. Tires are on. Paint looks very nice. Should be a nice addition to his fire truck. If I get a picture of the whole CJ5 fire truck, I'll post in another video. But these are ready to go. Spare tire is, I have the rim but no tire for it. So that's what they look like finished and mounted. Okay, like I say, if you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you on the next video.